and then you can come back and you can serve the rest of it here, right?
Didn't they say the New Jersey prosecutors would be happy to see him fry? Wasn't that the actual wording?
Well, he was being threatened with being executed. Now, it was merely a threat, right?
The way I heard it was that, and as I understand it, there is no death penalty in New Jersey now.
Well, as far as I understand it, there is no death penalty for the charges that are being brought against him. So it was merely to try and intimidate him and bully him into making the deal with them that they wanted, right? But he turned it down, and here we are almost at the end of the process.
Didn't they deny afterwards that they did that?
As far as I understand, they have denied that.
The approach was made through the lawyer?
As far as I know, it was American lawyers who were interviewing him at the time, as far as I know. I would imagine that his lawyer was there at the time as well, because I doubt very much if he was interviewed, hopefully he wasn't interviewed by the American legal representatives, without his own legal representatives present.
Have you yourself written to Jackie Smith?
I'll read it for you. It says, "Please halt the extradition of Gary McKinnon to the United States. Gary is a British citizen who deserves a fair, unbiased trial for crimes allegedly committed on UK soil. He has been vilified and accused of acts of terrorism in the US. He will not get justice there. The UK-US 2004 extradition treaty was introduced after his initial arrest by British police, requires the US government to produce no evidence against him, and this is non-reciprocal. Do not be the woman who allows such a dangerous legal precedent to be set. Act now to ensure Gary McKinnon faces true justice in a UK court." Signed by anybody who's at all interested in signing it. Okay?
Fantastic. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
UK trial or no trial!
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 My name's Noel Glynn, and I'm working primarily with the 9/11 Truth Movement. But I'm supporting Gary because I think so many appalling violations of civil liberties have come out of the 9/11 incidents and the 9/11 lies.
So have you been supporting Gary for long, or have you just joined in the recent weeks?
Well, I've been in correspondence with his mum for probably the past year, on and off.
Okay. Have you met Gary?
I've never met him.
Did you expect the verdict that's happened, or did you actually think that perhaps when it got to the European Court or the House of Lords that would be it?
Well, I hoped that he would find some justice there, but I wasn't too hopeful because I was aware of the inequity of the extradition treaty that was non-reciprocal, that was signed by David Blunkett, without apparent reference to Parliament in the first place, and which allows the US to extradite citizens from this country without presenting evidence, but does not give the British government the same rights to extradite people from the US. And I think it's appalling anyway that anyone should be extradited from a country without evidence being presented.
What do you think should happen to Gary?
I think he's basically been doing something harmless, and I don't think any charges should be brought against him at all.
But if it was your computer system and you worked in defence, would you not feel that was a violation of your computer system?
I probably would, but then I would probably also have a guilty conscience for not having set up proper security, proper passwords and things, so that hackers could not get in. And I believe that the security was very lax, or so I have been told.
Isn't it easy to be in sympathy when we know people, and then maybe if you're on the other side of the pond and you're thinking that this is some dangerous person and they're leaving messages, that maybe they would think, oh, you know, this guy, we better stop him because he might really, you know, because they're saying that he took down about 70 computers. I don't know if he really did or not, but do you think that they ought to be concerned about that kind of thing, or do you think it's their own security? Should they be looking closer to home?
Do I think that the US government ought to be worried about hackers? Yes, I'm sure they should, but then it's up to them to protect their systems, not to persecute foreigners who are on the lookout for information which the public as a whole ought to be made aware of. I gather he was looking for UFOs. If there are UFOs, then we ought to know about it, and the government should not be keeping secrets. I have also heard a story that he planted on one of the Pentagon's computers the slogan, 9/11 was an inside job. I don't know whether that story is true, but if it is, it may mean that there are a lot of people somewhere within the US administration that are very worried about what they think he might know.
I don't think they were the exact words he used, but he did mention 9/11. Yes.
Right.
Now, what do you think the UK government should do in a circumstance like this? I mean, obviously they can't be seen to just say, oh, well, you know, he's one of ours, therefore leave him alone. But, you know, what should they do? Because obviously they have to be seen to do something.
Well, I'm not really in a position of speaking for the UK government. I think they shouldn't have signed this treaty in the first place. And now that they've done it, they have to take the consequences, presumably, either of great embarrassment and saying, oops, we signed something that is unpopular with the public, and it should be unpopular with the public, and revoking the treaty. I would like to see the treaty revoked.
It hasn't been signed by the other side. Is it not ratified, surely?
I'm not a legal expert, and I can't really answer that question.
Okay, so on behalf of the 9/11 Truth Movement, is there something you'd like to say to the people of the world?
Be very, very careful about what the authorities tell you, and always ask the awkward questions and keep asking, because there's a lot of people in government who are trying to hide things, and they will try and fob you off. And when they get caught out, as they may be have got caught out in some degree, in Gary's case, they are liable to come down like a ton of bricks on ordinary people. And it's a disgrace, quite frankly. It's a violation of civil liberties. Actually, you asked me earlier whether I was sympathetic with this case simply because I knew Gary. But I don't know Gary. It's a civil liberties issue, and it's one that we ought to be getting excited about, whether we know Gary or not.
Do you think this could be anybody's son or daughter?
Of course. I mean, it comes back to that old Pastor Niemöller poem, doesn't it? About first they came for the Jews, but I wasn't a Jew, so I didn't protest. And now I think we ought to add a new line, which is, then they came for the hackers, but I wasn't a hacker, so I didn't trouble to do anything. And then they came for the Muslims, but I wasn't a Muslim, so I didn't protest at that. And then they came for me, and there was nobody left to protest.
No way to the USA! Gary stays in the UK! 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 No way to the USA! 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 No way to the USA!
Jackie Smith has been receiving letters from the public urging her to allow Gary to be tried in the UK. He could be extradited any day now, and only her decision can stop that. This has been Maz for Anarchy on the Airwaves in London.